What is happening, YouTube people? Jeff Jake here, and today I'm going to be showing you 5 awesome minigame ideas that you can play with your friends. But before we get started, I want to mention a few things. These are not big, in-depth minigames. These are just ideas that I've had. I've made them on creative, but they are all survival friendly. There's nothing here that you can't do on survival. And I've tried to make it as minimalistic as possible so that these minigames can be adapted. These are not finished products by any means. These are not finished ideas. These are just some little ideas that I made, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it. And if you decide to build them yourself, you can adapt upon it however way you like. But enough about that, let's get straight into it, shall we? So we kick things off with this little idea I got going on here. It's a minimum of 4 players for this one. In fact, most of them are a minimum of 4 players. We've got 4 teams. We have the red, the blue, the green and the yellow. So how do you play? You'll come up to your team. So I'm going to be the red team, and let's just pretend there are 3 other people in the other 3 corners. So to start off, you've got a box here, you got a pickaxe and you got some concrete. Obviously I've got red concrete being on the red team. How you play the game is you have to try and fill up as much of this square as possible with your colour before the timer runs out. By timer, what I mean is you can decide how long each minigame lasts. For this one I would say 2 to 5 minutes depending on how many people are playing. I haven't made a redstone clock or any kind of clock here. I didn't think it's necessary. Most of us, if not all of us, have a stopwatch on our phones, and I think that's pretty sufficient. You could just load up your stopwatch on your phone and start timing down either 2, 5, 10 minutes, whatever it is that you want to do. So you get the stopwatch up on your phone or any device that has a stopwatch on it, and you begin. And the way it works is you need to try and fill, let me just get off of my creative bit there. Fill as many of these squares up with your colour as possible. Now you will notice that there is a whole load of white squares, which is why you have a pickaxe. You need to break them, fill it with your colour. Carry on, break it, fill it with your colour. Now the reason why I have the white squares is, otherwise it would just be so easy to just come from here and start placing all of your blocks in a line, get to the next one, place all of your blocks in a line. I didn't want it to be that easy, and then I wanted it to be a bit more challenging than that. So I've got these white squares so that you have to physically take them out in order to actually place all of your blocks. Now, a few other things. Obviously, while I'm doing this, there would be 3 other players all doing the same. If I want to, I don't have to stay in my square. I can move on to, what colour is that? Yellow. I can move on to their territory if I want to start placing all of my squares along here. And if the yellow person wanted to, they could start taking away my squares. Taking away my red squares to be able to put their own yellow ones in, and that will be the same for every player. The objective is to fill as much of the square up with your colour and take away as much as you can of the other person's colour as possible. Now, a few other things. You'll notice there's some chests dotted around here. That's because inside here at the beginning, like I said, there was 64 red concrete. Obviously that hasn't changed for me because I'm on creative, so the amount of concrete I place doesn't change at all. But you'll start off with 64 concrete, but that is not going to be enough concrete to fill much space. So I've got these chests, and these chests are filled up with 10 of each colour concrete. Oh, didn't mean to place that there. As you can see. And here's the red one. So I found a chest, I'm the red player, I found the chest that contains the red, and I can start taking all of that out so that I have now more red concrete to place. And on each player's square there'd be another 4 chests, so I need to try and find the red concrete for this one. There it is. I can start taking all that red concrete out of there, which now gives me more red concrete. But while I'm doing this, while I'm searching for chests with my colour concrete in, the other 3 people could be destroying my concrete or placing their own concrete. So, you really need to prioritise what you're doing. Which brings me to this bit up here. As you can see, there's 4 little platforms up there. Being red, I'm going to want to go to the red platform. I'm going to want to come all the way up here to the top here, jump to the red platform, and there's another stack of red concrete in there, which is fantastic. So I've got another stack of red concrete. I can make my way back down the ladder. I don't want to jump or I'll get hurt. And that gives me now another stack of red concrete to start placing around everywhere. But like I said, you need to prioritise yourself and look at your timing when doing this, because obviously, like I said, it's going to be like 2 to 5 minute game. Is it worth going all the way up there and grabbing that concrete? Is it worth it? It's going to take you a while to get up there. It's going to take you a while to get down. And while you're doing that, someone could be taking away all of your concrete, you know. So you really need to make sure that you prioritise your timing correctly. So that's pretty much it for how to play the game. Obviously, once the time is up, the winner will be whoever has put the most amount of their colour concrete down on this entire area here. But there are a few rules. So, rule number 1, you are not allowed to take anyone else's concrete out of a chest. So if I see the blue concrete here, I'm not blue concrete, I'm not the blue player, I'm not allowed to remove that blue concrete from that chest. Only person who is blue is allowed to do that. Same goes with yellow, same goes with green. So that's rule number 1. Rule number 2, no killing each other. This isn't a PvP map, this is just a simple mini game where you've got to place the most blocks, so no bashing each other to death with pickaxes. There are no beds, so you will not respawn in the area. If you wanted to add a PvP element to it, you could place a bed and just bash each other to death with pickaxes. That's totally up to you. And obviously, as I'm going to say with all of these, make up your own rules, make up your own, you know, opinions of how you would like to play the game. These are just my basic ideas for mini games. Use them, adapt them, make up your own rules. That's totally up to you. So let's move on to number 2. Okay, minigame number 2. I've called this one Tower Defense. I know it's not the most unique name, but there's 2 towers and you kind of got to defend them. So what the hell else would I have called it? So there are 2 teams. There's a red team and there's a blue team. Once again, pretty much minimum of 4 players. I mean, you can play it with 2 players, but it'd be pretty dull and boring with just 2 people. I'd probably say at least 4. At the beginning, before the game starts, you need to come to your coloured box over here. So the red team, that would be this one over here, and sleep in a bed or just set a spawn point in the bed, depending on whether it's day or night. And you've got a chest here, but we'll get to that in a minute. And over there you have the blue equivalent of what I've just shown you. So once all the players have slept or put a spawn point in their bed, they're going to come to their tower. So I'm going to be the red team, so I'm in the red tower, and the game can begin. So the game will start, and in each of these boxes you will find a sword each. So like I said, I'm going to do this as if there's 4 people playing, 2 on each team. You each get a sword each. You each get a wooden pickaxe each, and you all get a bow and a stack of arrows each. Now you'll notice in each of these boxes there is a gold block, or a block of gold, whichever way you want to say it. There's 8 to be exact between these 3. And in the blue team's tower, instead of blocks of gold, they will have blocks of iron. Once again, there'll be 8 of those in there. Now, the reason for this is because once the game has begun and you've grabbed your weapons, so let me just grab a sword, a pickaxe, and grab my bow and some arrows. So the game will begin. The objective is you have to try and get the blocks in the other tower. So, being the red team, I have gold blocks, so I need to go and get all of the iron blocks out of their tower. And vice versa for the blue team, they need to come and retrieve the gold blocks. Now, 2 ways you can go about this. You can either keep all the gold blocks, being the red team, keep all the gold blocks in here, or if I want to, I can take the gold blocks out of them and put them into my inventory. Those are the only two options. That is rule number 1. The blocks can only be either in this chest, in one of these chests, in your tower, or in your inventory. There is no hiding them. There is no burying them underground. They have to be either in someone's inventory on your team or in one of these 3 chests. So what I'm going to do is I've taken the blocks out of here, I've taken the blocks out of here, and I've left a few in there. Now, like I said, the reason for it being 4 players is because it's ideal for one of you to stay in the tower and defend it against everyone else, and the other person to actually go and fight the other team to go get the blocks. So I'm going to come out of here and I'm going to go and try and get the blocks out of there. Obviously I can do that very easily, being the only one playing this right now. I can just come up here and see if I can get my hands on their blocks. So let's say, for instance, I managed to retrieve 3 of them before having to retreat. I got to get down here, I got to get to my tower, but instead of taking the blocks into your tower to keep there, I need to get these iron blocks, bring them here, where you will find a beacon, and I need to put the 3 iron blocks. Obviously they won't disappear because I'm uncreative, but I got 3 iron blocks and I need to put them here. Now, to win the game, I need to get all 9 iron blocks from the opposite team, place them here, and after a couple of seconds, my beacon will shine. Once my beacon is on, the red team win, and it will be the same for the blue team. Once they have retrieved all 9 gold blocks, they need to put them here, and their beacon will shine after just a couple of seconds. So, the winning team is the one who managed to make their beacon shine first. Now, 2 things I'll mention about the beacon. For starters, 9 blocks, not 8. I did mention just a second ago that there are only 8 blocks to start with in these 3 chests on each team. So where is the 9th block? Because you have to have 9, a minimum of 9 blocks to make a beacon shine. The 9th block is in here. There is 1 gold block and 1 iron block in here, which means at some point during the game, you need to make your way in here. I need to get rid of these cobwebs. I don't have to, but it's going to make my life a hell lot easier. And then down here, I'll get rid of these as well. In one of the chests there'll be an iron block, and the other chest a gold block. So obviously it's up to you whether you start the game, run here straight away, try and get your hands on both the blocks, because not only are you going to gain a block of your colour, but you're going to gain the enemy's block as well. But it's totally up to you. Obviously if you don't, the enemy will, so that's a choice that you and your teammates will have to make. So the other thing about the beacon, which I should mention, is once you have put a block from your team onto here, so let's just say I'm now the blue team and I've retrieved a gold block. As soon as I put it there, the red team are not allowed to touch this block. They are not allowed to take it, they are not allowed to touch it, it stays there. So if I then retrieved another gold block, I put it there, it has to stay there, and I can just keep retrieving gold blocks until I have all 9 and getting my beacon to shine again. So that's the other rule. Now obviously it's also a sort of mini PvP map. As I said, you've got bows, you've got swords, so you can die, which is the whole reason for the beds at the beginning. That's why this bit is so important. If you die, you obviously spawn with nothing, and there is some bows and arrows in here that you can take just so that you can get straight back into the fight and start taking down whoever killed you. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all the rules and how to play the game. Like I said, the winner is the first team to get their beacon to shine. They got to get all 9 blocks to be able to do that, and one of the blocks will be in this area here. As I've said with the other one, and like I'm going to say with all of them, this is just a basic idea. Please feel free to adapt it especially in survival. I can just imagine this type of thing in survival. You've got mountains, you've got forests, lakes, all sorts of stuff. You could make it massive, really, really, really big. And, you know, you'd have to travel hundreds of blocks maybe to be able to get to the other person's tower. Make it really, really big, especially if you had like, you know, 8-10 people on this, 5 people per tower. I reckon this could be a really interesting idea. And obviously instead of just the tower defense, that's why I added the beacons, because you'll be able to see when the other team wins, and the other team will know they've won once their beacon is up. And that's it. That's all I've got to say about this one. So let's move on to minigame number 3. So, minigame number 3. I've called this one River Rapids because that's exactly what it is. It is a typical River Rapids idea with my own twist on it. The general idea is I've got 6 boats up here. Obviously you can have less or more depending on how many players you've got. And the idea is that you sit in a boat, you pull this lever, which I'll do in a second. There's pistons underneath these blocks, which are activated and then deactivated once you pull the lever, which allow the boats to start making their way towards the end. And it's a typical first, second and third place to the finish line here, which I've represented by a white line. Let me quickly just talk you through the build itself, because it took me a long time and then it took me another long time. There's several different pathways to choose from, each one with their pros and cons. Like the pro to coming down this one here is it drops quite a lot and gets you closer to the finish line. The cons is there's a lot of obstacles in the way, and you can actually kind of like fly off of here in your boat if you're quick enough, but there's all these in the way which will probably stop you from doing that. And there's very little gaps in between to be able to pass through. And like we take this one for instance, it seems like this is a good way to go through until you get down here and realise that you're blocked, which means you've got to try and get your way through here and down here. I'm not going to go through every single route because it would take too much time, but just believe me that there are pros and cons to every single route, and just because your boat is in line with a certain route doesn't mean you have to take it. You could start and you could immediately divert off to the left or to the right, and I can imagine if you had 6, 8, 10 people on this, you'll all be crashing into each other, fighting for what you might think is the easiest route, and I think that'd be pretty funny, to be honest. So, the thing that was a pain in the arse is, I didn't know until I'd built this entire thing that boats do not go through a one wide gap, which was a pain because I designed this all around one wide gaps. So I had to do it, and then when I found out I couldn't go through one wide gaps, I had to do it again. So this is like the second time around, and I've put loads of one wide gaps in there so that you physically can't pass through here in a boat. You have to go around, and it's the same with down here. Any of these one wide gaps here you won't be able to pass through, which is exactly why I did it. So in the end it kind of benefited me with the whole one wide gap thing, but you can only imagine how pleased I was to find out that they wouldn't go through a one wide gap after building this entire thing. And I'm building this all in creative, and it took a long time to do in creative. So, yay! So let me just give you a quick example. Obviously, I don't have loads of players to play with right now, but I'm just going to remove this and show you. I'm going to hop in this boat here, and as you can see, all the other boats are coming down here. I could easily start swimming around. Oh, there I go. It's quite hard to control. Try and get myself down here. You do get down there quite quickly, but like I said, if you had a whole bunch of other people fighting you as well, I'm stuck. If you had a whole bunch of other people fighting you as well, I can imagine it would be a bit more of a challenge, especially this bit, because look, won't go through that one wide gap. It will not go through a one wide gap, which means I now got to turn around, try and get through here, to finally get to the end. There's another one wide gap. Come on! And the end. Now, obviously, the other boats are not going to make it because they're not manned, which means they just stop. I only made a very small version of this, especially the second time around. I wasn't going to make it any bigger. But you could make this huge. You could make it like, you could make it like 20 wide. Not that you would really need it to be 20 wide, but you know what I mean? You could make it very wide. You could make it extraordinarily long. So it isn't as quick and easy to get through. But like I said, these are just simple ideas. If you want to adapt on them, then that would be fantastic. There's no rules, there's no hidden agendas, there's no secrets of this. That is literally it. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. I'm going to move on to minigame number 4. Alrighty then, moving on to minigame number 4. This is one of the bigger ones, the biggest one that I've done. But it's actually very, very simple. Once again, not simple to make, but the premise of it is simple enough. So, you have 4 teams. Once again, minimum of 4 players. Maximum is near enough completely up to you. You got blue, you got green, you got yellow and red, as we are already familiar with by now. I'm going to pick the red team, as always. And the idea behind this game is before the game starts, you sleep in a bed, or if you can't sleep, set your spawn point. This is very important before starting the game, because if you die, which you probably will, you won't respawn. So, you set your spawn point, you get your bow and your arrows out of this chest, and then you begin. So, how it works is you have to make your way across here, across all of the glass, and the goal is to get to that chest right there in the middle. So let me just make my way across there. Oh, fell in the lava. There we are. So inside the chest is a bunch of torches. You don't have to use torches. You can use anything you want to use in there, but I've just used torches. So once you get to the chest, you take a torch, just one, and then you've got to make your way back to your original area. So I'm just going to do that now. And once you get there, you're going to put your torch in your chest. Now I will say, just before anyone else mentions it, it's probably best to have a whole bunch of spare bows and arrows. Maybe not in this chest, but in another chest next to it. Because if you die, you will lose all your equipment. And when you respawn in your bed, you'll need another bow and arrow. Now, why do you need a bow and arrow? Well, obviously, it's quite simple to get to the chest in the middle. I know I died on my first attempt, but that's just me. But it is pretty simple. You can pretty much run without stopping to get there, like that. There we are. It wasn't that hard. So the reason for the bow and arrow is everyone is going to be shooting each other whilst you're doing this. And the last thing you want while jumping is to be shot by an arrow and falling into the lava. Now, obviously, I'm on creative, as I've said a million times, so I'm not going to die, but you will. So I highly recommend you don't have any equipment on you, meaning helmets and whatnot, because it's going to increase the amount of time it takes you to die, and the whole point is that you want to die quickly, so you can respawn back in your bed and start again. If you're down in that lava for 30, 40 seconds because you've got fire-resistant boots and God knows what else on you, it's going to take longer to die. You want to die very quickly so you can respawn and give it another go, which is again why I suggest you have another chest here filled with bows and arrows, because when you die, you're going to lose them. And that's it. That's literally it. That's the whole game right there. I can imagine if you had, 2 people on each team, 4 people on each team, this would be really fun. Like, going through here and having arrows coming at you every which way to try and stop you from getting there. And basically, the game ends when there are no more objects, for me, torches, left in the chest. That's why you only need to take one as well. That's why when you get here, you take one torch and then you go. You don't take any more than that. That's obviously going to make the game a lot shorter than it need be. And like I said, that's it. That is pretty much it. This took me forever to build on creative, as you can probably tell. The lava took absolutely ages, and that's in creative with an infinity source of lava, so I can imagine it's going to take quite a while in survival. The glass also took me forever. What I did, because I couldn't be bothered to go around placing random pieces of glass everywhere, I filled this entire level with glass, and then I just flew around smashing out pieces of glass at random. If you all want to play this mini game together, you could all chip in to do it. Be a lot quicker for you, but that's it. That is literally all there is to it. So I'm going to move on to the final minigame number 5. So the 5th and final minigame. This one is probably my most favourite one. I really like this one. I literally came up with it today. So there are 2 teams, Team 1 and Team 2. There's no designated colours for this one at all. So we're going to start with Team 2. The reason for that you'll see in a moment. And another side note with this one is it has to be a minimum of 4 players, no matter what. So Team 2, there will be one person standing here, and there'll be one person on the other side standing here, and that is Team 2. Team 2's goal is they're going to grab a bow. They're going to grab some arrows, and that is the same on both sides. And as you can see down here, there are minecart tracks. The minecart will start there, and it will be a minecart and chest, by the way. That's very important. Minecart and chest will start there. It will make its way all the way down here to the end. As soon as it gets to the end, it will start making its way back. Team 2's objective is to shoot the minecarts. Once the minecarts have been shot, they will come off the track, and they will just be hovering there like normal blocks when they just hover there waiting to be picked up. So that's Team 2's objective. What about Team 1? Well, Team 1 has quite an important job. There will be one player here. They will also have a bow and some arrows, just to let you know there. Haven't put a chest here filled with bows and arrows, because I want the person in the middle, for Team 1, to have a 360-degree view of the entire area. That's quite important. But they will also have a bow and arrow. Now, the person that's in this little bit here for Team 1 has 2 objectives. The first objective is to shoot the people that are on Team 2. So you're going to be firing arrows at that person over there and firing arrows at this person over here. The other job for the person in the middle here, where I'm standing on Team 1, is to keep an eye on the minecarts, which is why this area here really needs to be made out of glass, and why you need to have an unblocked 360-degree view of the tracks. Because when someone on Team 2 destroys a minecart, the person here on Team 1 needs to tell the other person on their team what coloured minecart has been destroyed. So, for instance, if there was a minecart on, let's say, the red track here, as you can see here, if there was a minecart there and it got destroyed, they need to tell their team, the other person on their team, that the red track minecart has been destroyed. And what happens is the other person on Team 1, who will be behind here, when this person hears from their teammate the minecart on the red track has been destroyed, they need to press this button here. I'm not going to press it just yet, but I will press it in a minute. But just keep in mind that whenever their teammate shouts a colour to them of the minecart that's been destroyed, the other player, who cannot see what's going on because all this is blocked, they can't see what's going on, they have to press the appropriate colour depending on what their teammate is telling them. Now, the person on Team 1 is going to start pressing multiple different minecarts. They can press it in whatever order they want. They could press them near enough all at once just by like going through it and quickly pressing all the buttons. Or to try and confuse Team 2, they can press, you know, them all in different orders. The only thing is, you must make sure you only press that button once. You only want one minecart on one track at any one time, and that is very, very important. So as you can see here, we now got a bunch of minecarts going. Obviously you're going to have all of them going when the game begins, and Team 2 are going to start trying to take out all these minecarts like I just did there. As you can see, that's what happened when you take out the minecarts. Just did another one. It's not too difficult to take out the minecarts, to be honest, but you can adapt it. You can make the minecarts faster by adding more gold rail. gold rail, powered rail, should I say. You can do loads of different things. You can also add blocks. Let me just take some dark oak, for instance, and you could do something along the lines of this, which means that when a minecart on that blue track, which I don't have one on the blue track at the moment, but when that minecart goes through that tunnel, the person on team 2 cannot shoot through that. So that could be a way of making it more difficult if that's something that you want to do. But it doesn't end there. It's not all about just shooting the minecarts. To determine the winner is a little bit more complicated. You see, behind here, there is a certain amount of minecarts with chests in each dispenser. So they start off with 9, and when you press the button, one disappears. And then once that minecart has been destroyed, so let me just destroy that, you'll come back here and you'll press it again. And another minecart will go. But obviously you have a limited number of minecarts. Once all the minecarts have been destroyed and there is no more minecarts left to dispense, the game is over. But what does it mean? Like, what determines the winning team? Like, you could do it as like a time trial, like how fast did it take team 2 to take away, all the minecarts? You could do it like that, but I thought of something a little bit different. You see, behind here, there are hoppers with signs in. Now, you don't have to use signs, but I recommend using something that only stacks to like 16 or something like that. And as you'll see in here, these ones are starting to disappear. That's because every time the minecart on the red track comes back, it takes one of these signs. And you'll see, once it comes back, there we are, it goes down to 2 from 3, and it will only take 1 at a time. Now what that minecart's going to then do, is that minecart is going to bring it down here. Once it reaches here, it's going to drop off that one sign, it's going to put it into that hopper, which takes it down to here, and then they all end up in this chest or this chest. The winning team is determined after the teams have swapped. Obviously, the winning team will be the team that gets the most amount of signs into these chests once there are no more minecarts left. Now, I know that sounds extremely overly complicated, and to be honest, it is a little bit. Like I said, you can just do it as a time trial type thing, like see how long it takes Team 2 to take out all the minecarts. But I wanted to add this little thing, just to add a bit of redstone into one of these builds, like none of the other builds have redstone in them. So I wanted to add a little bit of redstone, but I didn't want to overly complicate it. Like I said, I want all of these builds to be easily done on survival, easily adapted on survival. And I think it wouldn't take that long to build. This did not take long at all to build on creative, so it's not going to take that long to build on survival. But that's it. I hope that last one wasn't too complicated. I tried to explain it the best I could, but maybe I didn't explain it well enough. It makes perfect sense to me because I made it, but I'm hoping it makes just as much sense to you. And that's all of them gone through and done. These are my 5 mini games, which I made completely off the top of my head. But on that note, that's all I've got time for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did and you like what we're doing on the channel, then please consider subscribing. It really helps us out, and we're hoping to hit 100 subscribers by the end of the year. If you guys can make that happen, we would really appreciate that. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoyed my 5 mini game ideas. But that's all for now. Jaffa Jake out. Cheers. This episode is going to be a fucking disaster. I can't get my mic working properly. I can't get my room to stop being reflective no matter how hard I try. And the heating is on, which means there is water running through pipework all throughout my house, picking up on my mic. And like I said, my mic is not working for some reason. There's this weird hissing sound that I can't hear, that only my mic can hear, which is annoying to say the least. But saying that, I'm going to do it anyway, and then regret doing it immediately when I start editing it. So, with all of that out of the way, I might as well get started.